Hi everybody and welcome to Putin's battle versus Nabiullina. Serious battle between Russian consolidated budget versus Central Bank of Russia. The whole world is watching, but Russians don't. Funny people, those Russians. Let me explain in 10 minutes. Putin promised Nabiullina transition to zero primary budget deficit and toughening of the fiscal rule. The fiscal rule was easing over recent years, of course for war spending purposes. And did he keep his promise? No, he was lying. Oh, how Putin's Russians love slogans. Zero primary budget deficit, toughening of the fiscal rule, everything is going according to the plan. First, zero primary budget deficit. Nabiullina hoped to curb inflation relying on that promise, and she lowered the key interest rate, and in that way led some money in form of loans to real economy. But deficit is still financed from the budget National Wealth Fund. In that way, the deficit is additional contribution to the growth of aggregate demand, and growth of aggregate demand speeds up the inflation. And second, toughening of the fiscal rule. Nabiullina hoped to stabilize foreign exchange rate and appreciation of ruble, relying on the promise that Russia's federal budget will toughen the fiscal rule. What is fiscal rule? Federal budget uses a baseline oil price threshold of $59 per barrel for its Urals crude. Revenues above this price are channeled into Russia's National Wealth Fund, while shortfalls are covered by drawing from reserves of National Wealth Fund. The Russian Finance Ministry promised to lower this cut-off price to $55 or even $50 per barrel by 2030. The budget plays a big part on the currency market because it buys foreign currency with extra revenues and in that way clear up the foreign exchange market. There is a balance between demand and supply and the foreign exchange rates can be stable. But when budget isn't buying foreign currency and decrease demand for foreign currency, the value of foreign currency goes down and the value of ruble goes up. And in addition, they are also selling foreign currency from National Wealth Fund, yuans, and finance the shortfalls of oil revenues in budget so they can keep financing the war in Ukraine. In that way, they additionally add to foreign currency supply, and in that way accelerate devaluation of foreign currency and appreciation of ruble. But government still hasn't toughened the fiscal rule, and because of that we see that the exchange rate is strong. And what Russian Finance Minister Siluanov said? The exchange rate is strong and this is partly due to the easing of the fiscal rule because expenditure needed to be sourced and we needed resources. The country needed resources. The fiscal rule was eased up a bit, the exchange rate strengthened as a result. Therefore the budget is at the head of everything. Really, Siluanov, really? Just destroy exporters for the Putin's war, all is fine. Russian people don't understand it anyway. And what now? Nabiullina said that she must increase the key interest rate to curb inflation, but Putin and Sochin, big boss of Rosneft, are actively battling her. Who will win? Nabiullina is no show on St. Petersburg International Economic Forum, and that is huge. She is ashamed in front of Russian people. She betrayed core functions of independent central bank operations, protect the value of ruble and protect price stability. On the other hand, she has a little more time to balance on the rope. Ruble is appreciated and that is keeping in line the domestic prices. The inflation of prices is curbed by appreciation of ruble. And in the same time, all exporters are pushing her off the rope and demanding stable foreign exchange rate because their profits are melting fast in ruble denomination for the same volume and value of exports in dollars and yuans. If she cleaned the market of foreign currency, buy it with new printed rubles, and stabilize the supplies and demand in foreign exchange market, and in that way stabilize the exchange rate for rubles, then she is faced with growing monetary supply in economy. And that is again a road to inflation. The only way out is then to sterilize the ruble money supply by raising of the reserves requirements for commercial banks with no interest rate and in that way pull out the rubles from market. One choice is worse than another. No central banker wants to be in her skin now. What do you think? What will she do? Write me in the comment and see you in the next video.